and welcome to my vlog, Crafting with Shuttermonkey. I'm Amanda, also known as Shuttermonkey, and I live in Ayrshire on the west coast of Scotland. Other places that you can find me online are Ravelry. That's where you can find my knitting and my crochet patterns. I also sell those on Lovecrafts too. I'm Shuttermonkey Designs over there as well. You can also find me on Payhip, again Shuttermonkey Designs, and that's where you'll find any downloads or fabric requirements you need that go along with my sewing tutorials. You can also find me on eBay. I'm having a wee bit of a clear out in my room just now, and I've been putting some of my de-stash items onto eBay, and I'm ugly duckling over there. And the last place that you'd probably find me online is Instagram. I'm wee Shuttermonkey over there, but I've not been very active on social media over the past few months, to be honest. Should probably tell you what day it is. Today is Wednesday the 27th of April, and although it's been a wee while since my last video, I don't feel like I've actually got that much to show you. But the longer you leave it, the harder it is to do, so I thought we'd just do a video today and have a wee catch up with you. So the first things I'm going to show you today are the knitting things that I've been working on. The first 6 weeks of 2022, I spent a lot of time knitting stuff for the Evelyn Baxter scholarship classes that I'm teaching, where I travel around about Scotland, and I'm teaching ladies from the SWI various finishing techniques for their knitting, how to sew things together. And I spent a lot of time preparing for that. So that's took about maybe the beginning of all of January and the first 2 weeks of February. I was preparing for that. And since then, most of the things I've been knitting is more things for filming tutorials for all the techniques that I'm going to be doing. So I've made this pile of baby cardigans, but as you can see, none of them have been sewn up yet, because these are going to be getting sewn together in the video tutorials, but I did have to have them all made. I can maybe show you the backs of them. You can maybe see what the patterns are like. So this one's just wee cables up the centre. This is the back of a wee jumper. It's going to be a V-neck jumper. This one I actually knitted twice. I knitted all of the pieces twice because one of the patterns had a nice wee double moss stitch down the side, which I really liked. And I knitted the back, the front, and the two sleeves. I was on the last sleeve, and I thought this is not very good if you want to show shaping. You can't really see the shaping in the moss stitch, and it was pushing the moss stitch pattern out of sync, which I didn't like either. So I was actually trying to shape the top of the second sleeve and thought this isn't going to work, and I ripped it all out and did it again. So it's actually needing a wee block because you can see the stocking stitch bits to the side are a wee bit untidy because I knitted it with frog jam. But once I give it a wee block, it'll be okay and it'll work in the video tutorials. So that's one of them, and it's just a wee V-neck. It's just a little V-neck jumper, and that'll be one of the tutorials that will be showing you how to pick up stitches along a V-neck and do proper shaping in that. Also shoulder shaping as well. And I've also got a wee blue one. Again, this is just the back I'm going to show you, but this is going to be a wee cardigan. But it's got a different texture at the side. It's got rice stitch at the side. So it would be a different way of sewing. Excuse me. It would be a different way to sew these side seams together from sewing a stocking stitch piece. So that would come up in a different tutorial. And then I've got the two front pieces. And I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with this. It's going to be a picked up, you pick up all the stitches at the side and knit your button band on. But I'm still not decided whether I'm going to do a shawl collar on it or whether just a flat button band. But I'll figure that out near the time. This is a wee cardigan now that I have knitted dozens and dozens of times. I knitted them for my son, knitted them for my daughter, and I recently knitted one for my youngest grandson. Love this wee pattern. It's a great pattern. And just sleeves. A lot of sewing up to do, haven't I? And then this one, the wee lilac one. And there's lots of wee cables and twists in that one. But the reason I made this one is because it's got a different button band from the other two cardigans that I'm doing. The pattern actually told you to, it's moss stitch along the bottom, the button band. And then you were to knit the button band separately, and I thought, you don't have to do that. You can keep the button band, you can knit the button band at the same time, and because it's moss stitch, it's they stack up different from stocking stitch from the other patterns. And it's shorter, you can see it's curving? And that's what you want. You want your button band to be slightly shorter than the rest of it. So doing it in moss stitch is perfect if you don't want to pick up stitches later on and knit a button band. So that works great. The only thing is I did this one twice. I did two of the same because in that one there I didn't like my buttonhole placing. So I knitted another front piece exactly the same and just moved the buttonholes over one spot. So I've got all of those pieces as well for that. And then the last one is just, this was actually the first one I knitted. I knitted this actually in the middle of February when I was away down, where was my first class? Wigtonshire. When I was down in Stranraer, I was working on this one. And this one's just a stocking stitch cardigan. And the wee front pieces, I've just got a wee cable, just a wee cable up there, a wee cable up the side, next to where your button band would be. But this is a different button band from the blue one because you've got to pick up those wee stitches that you've left at the bottom and knit your button band up the way like so. That's the bit you would attach the buttons onto, and I've got to still knit the other side with the button. You put the buttonholes in. But as you see, you're supposed to knit it slightly smaller and when it stretches. But if you don't like doing your button bands like that, or picking up stitches along the edge to knit them on, you can do it with moss stitch or garter stitch. Just a wee tip for you if you're thinking of doing some baby cardigans or even knitting some garments for yourself. And if you don't like doing the button bands, you could do it in moss stitch or garter stitch. Right. It's quite an impressive wee pile here. It's going to take me a while to film all these tutorials because there are 3 different side seams for joining side pieces and joining raglans. There's 3 different shoulder seams. There's 2 different button bands. There's different ways of making your buttonholes. And then you've got casting on and starting, how to do your rib. And I know that sounds fairly straightforward, how to do rib. But you wouldn't believe the amount of ladies that I've come across that don't know how to do twisted rib on when you're working flat, when you're working back and forward and you've got a right side and a wrong side. And they can't do twisted rib. They've been doing it wrong for all their life, basically. Which kind of surprised me, actually, because I thought that was something fairly straightforward. But these tutorials will not be out till later on in the year. But I just wanted to have the pile of pieces all knitted, because see if I find I've got time during the summer and I've not got a lot on and I can video tutorials. You don't want to be frantically knitting and trying to get pieces made so they're there and they're ready for me to film my tutorials. And they'll come out later on this year once I'm almost finished teaching all my classes. So I'm just going to pop these under the table. Get them out of the way. And the yarn that I was using for most of those cardigans is the Surdar Snuggly. It's an Aran weight yarn. And it's been really nice to work with, actually. I brought a pink one through as well. I haven't actually used that in those cardigans here. That was for some of the samples that I needed for class. The ladies have all got to knit. Before coming along to class, the ladies have all got to knit sample pieces that they can sew on themselves or attach button bands onto, and it's double knitting. But when I did my samples, I did do them in double knitting, but I thought it's quite difficult to see if there's maybe 12 ladies leaning round you trying to show them a technique. So I knitted more samples on Aran weight yarn, just so I had bigger samples to work on and it's easier for people to see. So it's been quite nice working with this, and it's a nice yarn. Surdar Snuggly. And I used that for the wee blue cardigan, the pink cardigan and the green cardigan as well. The only one that's different is the wee purple cardigan pieces. They're actually super soft Aran. I think it's still a Surdar, but it's called super soft Aran rather than the Surdar Snuggly. But I specifically wanted those 4 colours. Right, just throw that under the table as well. And the other thing that I've been working on, apart from doing those cardigans, I've not really done much knitting. I don't really know what I've been actually doing this year. I don't feel like I've done much. I think I showed you these ones before. It was log cabin blocks using yarn by Nora George Yarns. It's a Coincidence Club. So this log cabin, it's 5 10-gram mini skeins, micro skeins I think you call them. This one's dyed by Nora George, and then this one was dyed by Shannon from Blue Fern Yarns. So I've got 2 log cabins, one from each dyer, And then the following month was a teal colourway. Now these ones haven't been blocked, but this one is Nora George. That's the teal colourway, and it's 5 different colours, 5 10-gram mini skeins. And then this one here is Henny Penny Makes. It's Erin from Henny Penny Makes. And what I've tried to do is the Nora George ones, I'm going to keep them with a dark centre, and then I know that's the Nora George version. And the other yarn dyer that's involved, they get the light centre. So I know that one's definitely Henny Penny Makes and that one's Nora George. And I've been working on the blue ones as well. So there we go, again unblocked. Or the end still needs sewn in. But this one, again, Nora George colourways. And then the last one here, it's actually sitting in my wee bowl. Now you understand why they're all creased and all crinkled, because I fold them up like this inside my bowl. And I've still got just a couple of rows to do in this one. And this one is Stranded Dye Works. I'll hold that other one up so you can see them together again. And even when the yarns look really similar, they come out quite different, don't they? But I've only got a couple more rows of garter stitch to do in this one and I can cast it off. But this is what I've been working on when I'm teaching my patchwork and quilting classes. Before Christmas, and maybe in January, I was basting hexagons. But this is just something really simple to do. When I see if I sit, I fidget, and I'm like this, and I'm squirming constantly. So if I keep my hands busy, it stops me from fidgeting so much. So I need to get that one finished. And then I think I've got another, maybe 3 different colourways. There's peach, and there's green, and there's reds as well that I need to work on. But that one, as you can see, is folded in half again, and sat in my wee bowl. That's why they're all creased and crinkled. Right, I'm just going to pop those out the way. But I've quite enjoyed working in those while I'm at class, because obviously with all the different restrictions, you can't wander about class and you can't touch stuff the way you normally do. And even demonstrations, even trying to show people how to do stuff, I've got blocks partly made. I've got the blocks that they're making partly made, and so they can see, and they've got their written notes to save us mingling quite as much as we used to. I don't want to throw that one down. I'll maybe just leave that sitting there. Clatter. And the only other thing I've been knitting on is some double knitting socks. I'm not going to show you too much of the double knitting socks because, excuse the clicking, because you're going to see them again the next time, and you'll see the same thing over and over again and you'll get bored. But I do want to show you this. Look at these needles. I love wooden needles, and I really, really like the Licca needles. And I saw that you can get them in pink, blush pink. How cool are those? So I actually bought them in 325s, especially for knitting double knitting socks, because I've got lots of double knitting socks that I want to knit, and they're just amazing, aren't they? Everything should just be come in pink. I love pink. But there you go. That, I'm going to put these 2 spare ones down so I don't drop them, okay? That's 3.5 hours knitting this morning. I've ripped that out 4 times today. I'll get the toe knitted, and then I move on to the pattern bit, and I just don't like the way it's lying. I just don't like the way some of my stitches are sitting. So it's been out 4 times, and I finally got it to the way I like it. I've got my stitches all sitting the way I want them to sit. I've got the pattern going the way I want it to go. And now I've just realised that I don't like that bit there. I think going from the toe and the start of the pattern's just a bit meh. So I'm going to have to sort that. So it's going to come out again. That's what I'll be doing this afternoon. It's not defined enough, the start of the pattern. It's just a bit meh. Yeah, okay, we'll think about starting the pattern. So anyway, that's coming back out again. But one wee tip, I find that it's not just in double pointed needles, sometimes it's on straight needles as well. See, if I go from purl stitches into a knit stitch, I find my first knit stitch is a wee bit loose. I find it's just a bit, it's not even a ladder that forms between the stitches, it's just that the first knit stitch after purling is sometimes a bit bigger than the other knit stitches. And I found that happens a lot if I'm changing, because I'm ending here in a purl and starting on a knit on needle 2, and the same here, I'm ending in a knit and starting needle 1 in a purl. I just find the first stitches are a wee bit untidy looking. And a way that I've found to tighten them up is, see when you work that first stitch on needle 1, if it's going to be a purl, after coming off the knits at the back and you're starting on a purl on needle 1, if you wrap your yarn in the opposite direction, it really does help tighten it up. So when you do a normal purl, the way you would wrap your yarn, actually wrap that first stitch the wrong way. And when you work round your needle and come back to the start, your first stitch is the wrong way round. It's presented the wrong way and you have to twist it, you have to turn it round. Just change the mount and then you work it exactly the same way, wrap it the wrong way, and you're constantly, it's backwards when you come back to it, and you just turn it the right way it should be, wrap your yarn the wrong way. And I find it just really, really tightens up down here. Same as well if you're ending on a purl and starting on the knit, just wrap the yarn in the opposite direction. And when you come back to that knit stitch, it's facing the wrong way. You could just knit into the back of it, but I usually turn it round, face it the right way, and then work into it again, wrap the yarn the wrong way. And it's only the first stitch that I need to do that on. And I've been practicing that a wee bit on some of those baby cardigans as well. Just even when you're working with cables and you've got purl and then you've got knit blocks, because that's going to be where your cables are. Sometimes I feel my first stitch is a wee bit untidy, just a bit bigger than the other knits or the other purls. And I've been practicing a lot doing that, and it really does help. So just wrap your yarn in the opposite direction and then change the mount when you get back to it and do it again. You work the rest of the stitches on the needle the exact same way that you should be. It's only that first stitch that you wrap it in the opposite direction. But I just thought I would share that with you. A wee helpful tip. Might help you if you're finding your stitches are a wee bit untidy. And that is all I've got to show you knitting wise today. And now we're going to move on to the crochet section. I've got a couple of nice things to show you in this bit, so, well, I think they're nice, okay? Excuse me for leaning in, I just need to get my piece that's over here. So, this is the first piece I've got to show you. It's actually, I've got it on a wee bit of black card just so you can see it better, but I can take it off. It's still got the wee label on it from sitting my test. I sat 2 tests with the SWI, Scottish Women's Institutes. I sat 2 tests with them at the end of March. It was 4 weeks ago today. It was the 30th of March I sat my tests. And that's what took up the next 6 months of this year preparing for these tests. So this was one of my crochet pieces. And this is fine crochet. And if I put it back on that black, you can maybe see. So it's made up of 16 wee motifs. And it's sliding off the board. It's 16 wee motifs. And you do these individually. As you're doing the last round, you join it onto the previous one. So you make the first one, then as you make the second one, you join it on. Make the third one, join it on. When you get to this row, you make one, you join it on to the first one again. When you make that one, you're joining it onto this one and this one. So it all joins together. It's join as you go, basically. But this was supposed to be a 1mm crochet hook. Tiny, tiny, tiny wee crochet hook. This is the Tulip, the Etimo Rose. They're my favourite hooks to use. But I had to go for the 125 because I'm quite a tight crocheter. And when I did my first motif and blocked it, I was only getting it as 3 inches square. It was supposed to be 3 1/4. So I had to go up a hook size because that's something they do check. I'm just popping that wee cover back on the end of that hook because they're really sharp. And once you've got all your 16 pieces done, you have to go back and fill in the middles. So each wee motif, I think, took me about 2 hours. I did one a day, and then the wee bit in the middle was maybe about 20 minutes. So it was quite a bit of crochet. But in all honesty, I did enjoy doing it. Once you start doing it and you're into the swing of it, you just get up in the morning and you're like, right, okay, let's go get my motif done. Before you do anything else, get a coffee, get your motif done. But it's really pretty. And now that I've shown it on here, I can use it. I think I'll put it in my living room and set a plant on it. It's really pretty. This actually scored... They mark everything obviously at 100, you get a percentage, and I think this got 93%. What did I get marked down on for this? See the centre hole? The centre hole wasn't the same size in all of my motifs. So I know I get marked down in that. And I know there's some of you out there going to be saying, oh, for goodness sake, life's too short to make sure all the holes are the same sizes. But I knew what I was signing up for when I signed up for this crochet test. I know how strict they are, and I know what the rules are. I know what the regulations are like for rural tests. So that's that. I just love it. I love looking at it in that camera screen. Looks amazing. I can't even think what else I get marked down on. You hand in all your stuff in the morning. You lay all your stuff out. The judges come, they mark it, they have a look at everything. They write down some notes, and then you go back in the afternoon, and that's when you get the crit. They tell you, you get round, and everybody that's applied for tests gets their feedback, and they give you feedback. They tell you what score you've got, what your mark is, and they don't give you your sheets. You can take photographs of the sheets, but you don't get your feedback sheets for a couple of months. They send everything back into headquarters in Edinburgh, and Edinburgh post it out to the people taking the test. So although you get your crit on the day, you get a bit of feedback, you don't get the written feedback for another couple of months. And I don't know if it'll take a wee bit longer, because the lady at headquarters is actually off just now. So I should really put this down, shouldn't I? I just can't stop looking at it. But I can't remember what the other points were on this that I lost a couple of points on. But I think that one, that was my fine crochet, and it's Twiley's 20. It's in this wee crochet book here. Twiley's 20. There's quite a few different patterns in here. And it's just, it had to be a maximum weight. The fine crochet has to be a maximum weight, a 20 weight thread. So that's why it's done in the very fine thread and the really fine crochet hook as well. So that was my fine piece. And then there was a garment. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this. I'll see if I can bring it in. Right. Can I stand her on my chair and let you see her? No, it's going to be difficult to show you. But there's the bottom of my dress. Oops. And there's the top. I'm going to take her off the stand because I think it'll just be easier to show you this dress when it's not on. Right, there we go. And it's got wee sleeves, a bit of lace on the end. And as you maybe saw earlier on, when I tried to badly show you on the mannequin, it's just got a bit of shell lace at the bottom. Now this was crocheted with, I think it was a 3.5mm hook. It's Rowan 4-ply cotton, and I actually made this 4 years ago. The SWI judges come to your federation, come to your area every 3 years. It's been 4 years since we did tests in Ayrshire, just with COVID and different delays and restrictions with things. But I made this for the last lot of tests. I actually sat a knitting test, I sat the hand knitting test, a machine patchwork test, and I was supposed to do crochet as well 4 years ago, but I didn't finish my crochet things. So this was me, this was round 2. But I just love it. And see, 4 years ago when I made this dress, it did fit me. It doesn't anymore. It's too small for me. So I have to go on a diet and try and exercise, because I want this to fit me. It's been sitting in a box for 4 years, waiting for the tests to come back round again, so I could get it entered and get a mark for it. So this one, I got 97% for this one. There was only a couple of things on that. I think the judge felt that the shell bit at the bottom was a bit wide. If I can hold it up and show you. She felt it was a wee bit wide, and I could maybe have been doing me coming down a crochet hook there. And the only other comment I got for it was that it was maybe not a whole load of, a lot of complicated stitches. There was maybe not, what's the right words I'm looking for? The main body of the dress is a lot of the same stitch. There wasn't a lot of changing, there wasn't a lot of pattern in it. And I think that was the only other comment I got. But apart from that, she said it was lovely and the tension was really nice. And so I need to lose a wee bit of weight so I can get into this dress. So I've signed up for Weight Watchers again. We'll see how that goes. I signed up for it when I was really ill in March, and I'm probably I don't know, maybe there's other people out there the same. But a month after signing up for it, I'm actually heavier than... not doing very well, am I? Must try harder. I've signed up for a couple of exercise classes as well. I haven't done any exercise since before COVID. I did some Joe Wicks exercise things at the beginning of the first lockdown, but I didn't stick with it. So I've not done any exercise in 2 years, and I need to get back into it. Before COVID, I used to go to the gym 3 times a week, but I haven't done anything. And see, living in the west coast of Scotland, it rains a lot, so you don't even get out to walk, because you just look outside and think, oh, it's raining again, I'll stay in with my knitting. But anyway, I need to get into this dress. I need to wear it. So I signed up for an over 50s aerobics class. I thought I would start with over 50s class because it might be quite easy. It was not easy. And I'm going to a aqua trim class later on today, which you think, right, okay, that'll be easy on your joints. If you're not exercised a lot, that'll be quite good for you. But then you realise you've got to buy a swimsuit, and that is no easy feat, is it? So maybe I should have crocheted on. No. So that was my other piece of crochet. And that is the Helen dress. It was actually in one of the Rowan books, but I think you can download this free on the Rowan website now. It was in one of the Rowan knitting and crochet books. Golly, it would have been about 10 years ago, because I started that dress on a holiday in Paris and then ripped it out because the tension wasn't right and started again. And I'm sure you can download it free on the Rowan website. It's called Helen, Helon, Helen dress. And it's by Marie Wallen. But I think you can get that free now. And, excuse me for leaning, the last thing that was in my crochet test was my dolly. She wasn't meant to be in my crochet test. You've seen her before. But she was a last minute. I can't not enter this test again. I was making a Santa, the little box of crochet Santa, for my test. And all was going well, and then I caught COVID. And I just couldn't keep up with the crochet every day. I was struggling to do my motif, never mind get the Santa done as well. So by the end of the first week having COVID, I just decided to give up. I wasn't going to push myself any further, and I would just put my dolly in. But she scored really well. She got 97% as well. One of the comments was that wee collar there. It's curling. I should maybe have blocked that to make sure it was sitting the same as the other one. And our wee hands, you see our wee hands? Our hands are not the same size, one's slightly bigger than the other. So, and that was the only comments, the only critical comments that were made. Apart from that, everything else was positive. So she saved the day, she saved my skin this year, so she did. I'll get the Santa finished eventually. Hopefully, maybe I could do it as a Christmas in July project and finish him off, because it was a lot of work I put into him. Just couldn't get him finished in time. And see, while we're here on the crochet section, see this little chipmunk? This is a little Toft pattern. He was a May crochet along. It was the month of May, and they did a crochet along, and it might be about 4 or 5 years ago, and I signed up for this. It was a mystery crochet along, but he needs a new home. Okay, he needs rehomed. So if you could rehome this little chipmunk for me, leave me a wee comment, like and subscribe, and leave me a wee comment, because he really needs to find somewhere else to live. Oh, that sounds really mean, like I'm kicking him out, doesn't it? I've just got too many toys, and I need to find new homes for some of my toys. I've just got way too much stuff. So he's looking for a new home. So if you would like to rehome him, like and subscribe and leave me a wee comment, and I'll randomly pick someone. I'll randomly pick someone next week. Will we say next Wednesday? What day is next Wednesday? Is that the 4th of May? It might be the 4th of May. Right, we'll go with the 4th of May, even if that's Thursday. No, it is Wednesday's the 4th. Yeah, you think you would check these things before he came on. But he's lovely. There's nothing wrong with him. He needs to go to somebody that's going to take care of him and adore him, rather than just being stuck in a shelf in here and not get looked at. Okay? Please rehome me. Right. The only other thing I've got to show you today is the other test that I sat and I'm going to go get my stuff, okay? Just before we move on, the last time I made a video and posted it on YouTube, I did another wee giveaway. It was for the bag, and there was a DPN cozy. There's matching DPN cozy and some 10-gram skeins of yarn. Well, I did draw a winner for that, but the winner hasn't got in touch with me yet. So, your name's Sylvia McCormick. So, Sylvia, if you're watching this, send me a wee email. It's amanda@shuttermonkeydesigns.com, and I can get this in the post to you. But if I don't hear from you by the 4th of May, I'll maybe draw another winner for this as well. I won't be offended if you don't want it, by the way. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But anyway, Sylvia, if you're watching this, let me know your address and I can get this in the post to you. And if I don't hear from you in the next week, I'll pick someone else, okay? Right, let me just sit that there because I don't want to put that in the box on the floor. I don't actually have any quilting stuff to share with you today. So what I'm going to do is show you the other test that I sat for the SWI. And that was the colour and design test. Oh, I didn't tell you, did I? My crochet test, I got an overall score of 95%. So that was an honours pass. Because with the SWI tests, if you get 95 or above, it's an honours pass. If you get 85 to 94, it's a first class. And that's what I got for my knitting, my hand knitting and my patchwork, my machine patchwork 4 years ago. I got 2 first class. And then if you get 75 to 84, that's a second class. And then I think there's a third class as well underneath 75%. So I was quite glad I got an honours pass for my crochet. So it was well worth waiting the 4 years for, wasn't it? And the other one, the other test that I sat 4 weeks ago was colour and design. And this one, I did quite well with this one. I'm really pleased with this one. I kind of feel like I cheated because I loved doing it. I had so much fun doing it and I scored really well. I'm just wondering the best way to show you these boards. Right. You need to get, it's a design, how you come up with a design for something, the original idea that you have and how you work your way all through the design and then you come to the finished product. Now you don't actually have to have a finished product. It's just ideas, swatches, sketches. You don't have to have a finished design. But I took 3 of my previous designs that I've made before and published and went right back to the start, and it was really, really nice revisiting some old designs and just looking through the computer and finding where did my inspiration come from, because I save all that stuff, I put it all on the computer, so I had it all there and I was able to print it off and make up these boards, and it was just really nice. So I'm going to stand up because I need to show you these boards and I think I need to get up. Right. See how best to show you these. So, there we go. I don't know how well they're going to show up. So, can you see it? That one's my first board, and this was for my autumn shawl. And I've got my wee swatch here, my original swatch that I knitted. And then, this is the second one. And the third one. I've got my wee knitted swatches on here as well, my wee toadstool with the beads on. And another wee brown swatch here. Oh, there's another one down there. And I tried to put samples of the yarn on too. So that was my 3 boards that I put together. Now each one of these, you had to go with your original idea. So for this one it was a toadstool on each. And then what I wanted different parts of it to look like, so that's why you've got this bit here. What I would like if it wasn't a pictorial, because you've got your toadstool, what your other squares are going to look like, why you picked that. And the other thing that I made to go along with those boards was a booklet, because you can't get all the information that you need onto an was that an A2 board, A1 board? So I made a booklet as well, so the assessor could actually go back. I could refer back and put a lot more information in here as well. I think the wee toadstool one's maybe the most pictorial. So you've got your charts in here and your first swatches that you knitted, what you changed about them, what you'd liked, what you didn't like, and how you worked your way through to your final design. But because this was old designs that I was visiting, I was able to take in the originals as well. Golly, it's got quite bright, hasn't it? So the first one was my autumn leaves shawl. And I decided to block this actually the day before. I gave it a good soaking and reblocked it the day before my test. So she's looking quite nice. But because it was an autumn design, I wanted trees on, I wanted leaves along the bottom, and I wanted a trellis feature here. So I was able to take that with me, but I didn't need that. The second, part 2, had to be a different craft from part 1, so that's why it was a crochet cushion. And this is something else that I'd designed previously. It was to match, it was a little box of crochet, and it was a Union Jack cushion with a gold crown in the middle. And I had leftover yarn, and you had enough to you had enough to crochet 2 cushions, but I didn't want 2 cushions the same, so I come up with something else. So this one had a Scottish theme. Rather than being the Union Jack, it was a Scottish theme, and obviously it's got to be a unicorn if it's Scottish, doesn't it? And that was the only place where I lost points in the whole of that test. I lost half a point because the judge felt that this shade of blue was maybe a wee bit pale, and I lost half a point. And then that was the third item, which was my toadstool cushion, and that's available on Ravelry and on Love Crafts as well. I love doing this one. Absolutely loved it. It's so much fun coming up with the design for the wee toadstool and knitting that up. And you can see my first swatches because they're on the board. I keep all that stuff, see all my swatches. So I had fun rummaging through my swatch box trying to find all the original swatches from these designs as well. But that was good fun doing that. I did another version of that in blue and pink. That was fun doing that as well. So overall for that test I got 99.8% because I got 100% for my toadstool cushion and I got 100% for my shawl, and then I lost half a mark. I lost 0.5% on my unicorn cushion. One of the comments the judge had made, the assessor had made, was that my colour and design test was one of the most phenomenal tests that she'd seen for a colour and design. And see, the minute she said phenomenal, that was me. I was away with the fairies. I don't think I heard anything else she said, so I'm going to have to wait for my feedback sheets because I don't remember much else after that. I was just... Oof. So the only... And see, afterwards, after getting a really, really good score, afterwards I thought to myself... I was speaking to the judge outside afterwards, and she was telling me about a bag that someone else had put together. They'd bought the fabric when they were on holiday. It was a tweed fabric. They were on one of the islands on the west coast, and they did all the stages that she went through from buying this fabric on holiday and making a bag, designing a bag, making a bag. And that was another good test that she'd seen. And at that point I thought, oh, I wish I'd put a quilt design in, because the quilt design that we're working on at class just now, the medallion quilt with the flowers at the corners, that would have been a really nice test to put together. And I kind of wished I'd done that rather than two knitted samples and one crochet. I could have done a knitting, a crochet and a quilt, couldn't I? That would have been nice, but maybe I'll need to try it again. And I think that's all I've got to share with you today. Most of this year has been taken up preparing for these Evelyn Baxter classes, and then preparing for the crochet test and the colour and design test. And the past month I've been trying to clean out my room, try to clean out all these cupboards behind me. I've got 6 of these cupboards in my room, and I'm trying to sort them all out. So I've got one cupboard for knitting yarn, one cupboard that's got crochet stuff in it, one cupboard for patchwork and quilting, one's for whips and stuff that I'm designing, And this one here that's got the toys in it, it's just books under there, and then I store all my photography and my video and equipment in there. So there's one for that, and there's one that I've still to hit. But I've got stuff all over the house. I've got stuff in every room in my house, and I really need to clear it out and just have a good organise and clean out. So you'll probably find more and more stuff getting quietly shoved onto eBay, and the stuff that I'm never going to get around to using. So I'll say goodbye to you now, and hopefully it won't be that long again before I go on to doing another video and posting onto YouTube. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.